All stand and join the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Calling this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. And tonight we're going to go over discussion and overview of superintendent search. And today we have Misty Swanson and Quinn Perry from ISBA. They have been guiding us and helping us through the superintendent search.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to present to all of you today. I just want to go over just a few things of what I hope to accomplish today with you all. First of all, I'll talk about ISBA's role, what we've been working on, and kind of the process in general. And then I'll discuss what we do as far as the application process, what we've been working on the past couple of weeks as we've received applications in. We'll also talk about confidentiality, some Idaho code sections, employment practices. We also have survey results for you. And then the next steps is we go into executive session. So that's what we're going to cover at this point. So first off, like Chairwoman Harris said, my name is Misty Swanson. I'm with the Idaho School Boards Association. Quinn Perry is with me. We have been working on your superintendent search the past several weeks because there were so many different components of it. I did ask for her help as well, just so that we can make sure that we were giving it over 100% towards this very, very important process. So ISBA has completed over 25 superintendent searches across the state over the last 5 years. We've helped districts from 150 students to over 15,000 students. So we've really covered every single spectrum there is. We have that experience with us. We also, a lot of what we do is guide boards of what you can do in open session, what you can do in executive session. And a lot of what we try to do is to guide you through that process so that there is no laws violated and that you're all doing exactly what you should be doing. And a lot of the process too is our main goal is to find you guys the very best superintendent possible. So while we review applications and we look and research and do everything we can possibly to find out every detail about these applicants, ultimately the decision is up to you all. So with us, we brought every single application. We have copies for all of you. We have reviewed them all. I have pros and cons to tell you about each of them. Lots of great things to tell you. But ultimately, it'll be your decision to make. I don't go through and pre-screen anyone. I don't live here. I obviously don't work here. And so that's really your guys' role. You represent your patrons and you guys know your district the very, very best. So
you do work here.
I do. So that's kind of what our role has been at this point. So as I mentioned, the application process. So what we've been doing the past few weeks is we would receive applications in. We really look at each of the applications thoroughly. We compare the details that are in them. Does the resume match what the application says? Are there actually do they actually get these degrees that they say they received? Do they actually have their certification? Candidates will provide me with a copy of certification, but that doesn't mean it's still valid. So we researched that to make sure whoever you have actually has their certification they say they have. We also do a lot of online and social media research, which Quinn will be talking to you about that. She helped with a lot of that. I look for just so they can follow instructions and what did their answers say. Somebody that really wants this position should really put a lot of thought into their application. So that's kind of what we've been working on the past few weeks on all of that. Any questions on that part at this point?
Yeah, do you actually check the references and check the if they said they graduated from University of Idaho, you check with the university, or Is that?
So, I get a copy of all of their transcripts.
Yeah.
So the transcripts say that they actually received that degree. Mostly what I'm looking for is the very last degree that they indicate. Because if they have their doctorate, then they had to have gotten a master's.
They probably had a bachelor's for that.
And in order to be a superintendent in Idaho, you have to have a master's degree, and you also have to went through a superintendent program that is authorized by the state. So a lot of our state institutions, such as U of I, BSU, ISU, NNU, all of those universities have educational leadership programs that people can get their superintendent credentials. So they have to go through that program, and then they apply to the State Department of Education. So I double check all of that. So there's no way for them to get their credential if they haven't done all of that other work. So.
Chairman,
Yes.
background checks. Do you authenticate the background checks also?
Would you let me go through every time I answer?
I-
It's up to you.
Sure.
I will do whatever you like. So, and would you like me to call you Madam Chairwoman, or how would you like me to refer to you?
I like Jody.
Jody? Okay, I will, whatever you prefer. So,
The madam thing.
I'm used to the legislative session.
I know.
So you have to,
I'll probably do
you
that.
have to
Sorry.
be very official. So the only entity that can actually do a bona fide background check that is, I guess, receivable by a district is the Idaho State Police. So I don't do that because your district has to do that. So what we did is we do a lot of Google searches, social media searches, digging through articles, things like that, trying to see what we can find. In the past, I've always been able to, if there's something out there, we find it via Google. Like it's some kind of digging, you see something where they've had some kind of incident or issue or a lawsuit or an issue with the board. It's usually out there in the media. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? So the next step is to talk about confidentiality real quick. So, I'm gonna hand this out. So as you can imagine, candidates who apply for this position are really putting themselves into a difficult position. Many of them love where they're at now. They love their jobs, they love their communities, they love their boards. But this is a great opportunity. And so they're really putting themselves out there by applying for the position, risking that it could ruffle their current board or current community. And so while you will be announcing some names in open session at some point, and there's a very good chance you'll be doing it tonight, you do not have to say all of the names of all of the applicants. You would only say the names of those who actually move on to the next step. And so because of that, because of the sensitive information, some of the packets, some of the applicants share details about their personal lives, about their past experiences, maybe past employment that is good or bad or neutral. And some of them just expect that you take that as a very professional gesture, that you just keep it quiet and not share it with other people. So we do have this confidentiality agreement that we ask each of you to sign. We also sign it. We keep all of this information locked at our office so no one else can see it. It helps to maintain the confidentiality of the applicants and their private information. It also helps so that when you're out, say that you're out on the farm, or you are at the grocery store, or you're at church, and someone says, well, I heard so-and-so apply, but you didn't choose them. You can say, I can't really talk about it because I signed this confidentiality agreement. And if they won't listen, have them call me and I'll talk to them about it. It just helps to, by law, you do not have to disclose all of their names at this point. So
Once a name is disclosed here, it's perfectly okay for us to tell someone, yes, they did
Yes.
apply then.
Yeah, so tonight, if you guys choose people to move forward to the next round and those names are in there, you are more than welcome to say that. You know, if there's sensitive things in their application packets that maybe the general public doesn't need to know about, then you don't need to answer any of those questions. And, as you get closer to your finalist stage, we'll be helping to prepare a announcement with details about each of your finalists. So there will be a lot of information to share with everyone about the names, their background, where they've worked, where they went to school, why they want to come here, things like that. So there is an opportunity to share all of that information. But at this point, just try to keep it a little bit more quiet.
Once
far as
it's
it's
public,
legal.
we can talk about
Yes.
it. Okay.
Do they have the same restrictions on the applicants?
What do you mean by that? I'm sorry.
Are you gonna sign one of these?
Me?
No,
Oh,
the applicants.
I've never, sorry, Jody.
You're fine.
I have never had an applicant sign it because usually they're the ones divulging their own personal information. Okay, so any questions on that? And then would you like me to maintain those, or would you like your district clerk to maintain those, the confidentiality agreements? Either way, it's fine with me.
Why don't we have you and then everything's in your binder?
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing to talk about is names to be announced and how you do that. So Idaho Code 74106 is not exactly black and white about what the names absolutely have to be announced or not at certain stages. It does say that you have to announce finalist names. Or if you have 5 or less applicants that you need to say those names. You have more than 5 applicants, so that portion of the law doesn't apply. So our legal counsel has advised us that it's just better that at this point, if you name someone as semifinalist, just say the names in open session. It just makes it so it's transparent. There's no secrets. There's nothing you're hiding. Just say the names. I have contacted all of the applicants and told them that you were meeting here tonight. I contacted them a couple days ago, but I contacted them all through our meeting tonight, and that the names of those, if the board chose people to move forward, that those names would be said in open session. And I had some contact me and say, does that mean I should let my board know? And I said, well, if they don't know yet, and you think your name might be announced, and you don't want them to find out whether they're watching this video or media or patrons might tell them, then you should probably let them know. So everyone has been advised that names could be set today.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, the next thing is, it's just a quick overview. So when we're in executive session, you're actually gonna be looking at the application packets. The only reason we can go into executive session is when you're talking about the qualities of individual candidates. So when we're talking about the process in general, such as what we're doing now, we have to be in open session. We're talking about actual people and actual things about their packets or their reference checks, things like that, we will be in executive session. So when we're doing that, it's just a reminder that the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission does have policies and laws regarding discrimination. And so as you're looking at these packets, you're going to see people who maybe share what their religion is, if they're male or female, if they have children, if they're married, their race, disability, age. None of those can be factors in your decision process. You just can't consider that, and you can't say that because it would be illegal. So as you're thinking of these things, or as you're seeing these, and you might think that someone might be too old, or they might have too young of children, or they might not be the right religion, just remember you cannot use that as a piece of your decision making when you're hiring somebody. Any questions on that?
You didn't say anything about politics.
No, that's not. Trustee Jones, that is not one of the things in the EEOC. So the next thing I was going to share is the survey results. Let's see if I have it here. And Quinn's going to help with that portion as well. So do you want to start and then
Sure.
a copy?
Yeah, do you have a copy for me?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing she's going to talk about, just so you guys are aware, is the people who took the survey. We gave them a few categories, and so that's the first. It's on the last page, but that's the first portion.
Yeah.
You'll copy too. Okay, thank you.
And I apologize that I'm going to read from my phone. I promise I'm not like Facebooking or anything like that. So for the record, my name is Quinn Perry, and I'm the Policy and Government Affairs Director for the Idaho School Boards Association. And we closed your survey today. It was opened on the 19th of June. And all of the survey responses that we received were online through the SurveyMonkey, although we did give the option for individuals to contact your school district if they weren't able to fill it out online and they could mail it. We did not receive any in the mail. You had 238 survey respondents. Of those, and like Misty said, those are on the back page. Of those, there were 102 identified as parents or caregivers of your school district students, 71 employees of your school district, and 34 were residents of the Emmett School District. We also gave the option to kind of divulge a little further about who they were, and you'll see that many respondents stated that they were either retired teachers or former employees, and some just noted that they were both an employee and had a child in your school district. So the first question, as you can see, and it's actually really beautiful to see in the color, I think. The first question was, what professional qualities did the survey respondents feel would be the most important for the Emmett School District Superintendent? And as you can see, the number one answer was experience with budgeting and school finance. So 193 people marked that as the top. The second one was excellent communication skills, including speaking, writing, and listening skills.
Page 2.
Oh yeah, page 2 has further information. It breaks it down by how many people marked that. Number 3 was, the top 3 was the experience administering the development, maintenance of a positive education program. The 4th highest was fosters positive relationships with community members. The 5th highest was experience in planning both long and short range goals for the school district. The 6th was strong organization and management skills. The 7th was fosters relationships and collaboration with the board, stakeholders, and out of the community. And as you can see, it goes down from there. So really we said about the 9th one, which was, where did I cap it off, was the experience evaluating the effectiveness of all phases of the school program. I mean, all of those had, more than 60% of respondents that felt like those were the top qualities that they want the school board to look for in their next candidate. As you can see, the comments they vary, but what I look for is really trends that we see in the comments. And the trends that we saw for this category was they want to see someone who has experience in the classroom. They want to see they think the candidate should exhibit good conflict management skills. Respondents felt that the ideal candidate really needs to understand the needs and demographics of the Emmett community, including the financial burden. The other one was they want the candidate to exude honesty and integrity. And then the other real common trend was they want to see someone who keeps students as a top priority. So those are those are the professional qualities that your patrons have asked for. And Misty, I don't know if you want me to explain. So you'll see that I did redact some information in the comments, and that's because any personally identifiable information we have been advised by legal counsel to redact. So if you're curious at what that is, it was either a specific name or identifier that was too close. So.
Okay.
Question 2 was, please note the personal qualities that you feel would be important for the new superintendent of the Emmett School District. We gave them the option to select common characteristic or traits, and then of course give them the ability to write in their own. So as you can see, the top few, which actually were almost all identical in the top, was shows good judgment and common sense, basing decisions on facts and without prejudice. Shows respect for all students, staff, parents, stakeholders, and the community at large. They have a good character with high morals and unquestionable integrity. Fosters a positive working environment. Expects trust, transparency, and openness and leadership. And then open to new ideas and willing to implement change as appropriate. So again, in the comments, as we kind of go through it, and of course you can read them, the trends that we really felt was that your patrons felt like the ideal candidate would have a compassion for the Emmett community, including the willingness to get involved, the appreciation for the community, and a deep understanding of what the community's needs and desires are. The next one was they really feel like you should seek someone that has exceptional leadership skills. They really feel like you should have someone who understands the roles and responsibilities between them as the administrators, their principals, their teaching staff, and of course their relationship with the school board. And then the last one is really resiliency. A lot of mentions about school bond issues, levy issues, which of course shows someone who's willing to push forward even though there are challenges that we all face as a school district. in general. So that's really an overview of the survey. So there is a portion of the survey that is not in here, and that's because those are questions that your patrons want you to ask your candidates, but we do redact that for the purposes of this meeting, because otherwise then all the candidates would be extremely prepared for their interview, which isn't a bad thing, but we will disclose that at some point. You will get to see those, of course, in exec session, and they will become a public document, the ones that you come out. So any questions on this survey?
How's this compare, participation wise with what you generally find? Is this pretty good participation?
That's a great question. It is a lot. A lot of times I try to think that it's community wise and like the number of people in your community. And so for that, it's actually a really high response rate. I've seen huge districts with the same or less response rate. So it is really high response. And I think that all of these results, as Quinn and I reviewed these over the last few days and again today, it really shows what your community and staff and possibly students are looking for. And the goal of this survey is really to give you guys their input so that you know what they're wanting, and to help hopefully answer some questions for you, especially if you're down to maybe 2 candidates at the very end. These responses, I've seen it multiple times with school boards. It really helps the board to make the decision. Sometimes it is the deciding factors. They go back to the survey and say, yep, all of these people said that they want this, and between these 2 candidates, this person has it. So I have seen that this is the tiebreaker in many, so.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
did I understand you right to say that there was 34 respondents from the community?
There were, and it's on your back page, 34 people identified as just a resident of Emmett. So that was just a basic question.
So this is heavily weighted with school attached people.
Definitely, I would say. Some people do say that they're just, an Emmett community member. Some said that they were a Gem County Chamber of Commerce ambassador. So some of them identified further in the comments, because you can also choose that other box, and then we asked them to specify. So then they just, some people just felt like they just choose that one, and some people wanted you to know that they were a certain
As
person.
a trustee, it concerns me that the community, voices their opinion, except when we really want their opinion, it doesn't seem to be there. So
Yeah.
is that something you find in other school districts, or?
Yeah, so typically it is employees and parents are the top people that fill this out. Okay, are you ready for me to go forward?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next step is, unless you have any questions in open session at this point, we'll go into executive session. In there, I'll present the application packets to you, and we'll discuss them, and you'll have time to review them. And then if you're all ready, then we'll come out, and in open session, you'll make a decision if you're ready to do that tonight. You can choose whatever number you would like to move forward to the next round, which would be doing reference checks. When we come out into open session, if you choose to do that and you choose to move forward with reference checks, we'll talk about what that process looks like and your involvement, ISBA's involvement, and potential outcomes of that process.
We need to make a motion to move into executive session under Idaho Code 74-206-1A.
Madam Chairman, I move to go into executive session under Idaho Code 74-206-1A.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Jefferson?
Aye.
Terry?
Hi.
Bill?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we need to make a motion to move out of executive session.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to move out of executive session.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're now back in open session. The Emmett School Board for the superintendent search received 7 applications. We need to select some of those candidates to move to the next step. So any names that any board member want to make them, any names that think that we need to move forward with?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to move forward with Ryan Hawkins. He's the Director of Operations at Nissa School District in Nissa, Oregon. I think he appears to be a good candidate.
Okay. Anybody else have a,
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward the name of Douglas Shane Erickson. I realize he's out of Idaho, out of the state of Idaho. He's from Utah, but the individual has been a superintendent for the Paiute School District for 7 years. I feel he's got a lot of experience. What I like about him, he's from a small school district, and I think he would, his demeanor would fit more compatible with our school district.
are there any other names?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move forward and with candidate Craig Woods. He is the current superintendent of Notice. He has experience that we're looking for, and I think he's done some good things in that school district.
Any other board members have any other names?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to keep Dr. Cynthia Orr in consideration. She has a good deal of experience with education and is qualified as a superintendent, working for the Idaho Department of Juvenile Corrections. And she does have some local roots, so I think she should be considered.
Agreed.
Any discussion on the names? Bob down there?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I've looked over each of those candidates. Some of them, do I need to name the names, I suppose? Back to the right one. Mr. Erickson.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Erickson, in his past positions, kind of appealed to me because he's done several things such as counseling, CTE, and adult education, as well as being a vice principal, life skills teacher. So some of the things that look very important to our district to move forward and make it collaborate with our CTE program, and just some things that appeal to me on his resume.
Jefferson, do you?
Madam Chair, I'm in agreement with the names my fellow trustees have brought forward.
Okay, I too am in agreement with the names. So we need to make a motion on those 4 names to move to the next step in the superintendent search, to the next round.
Madam Chairman, I move that we move the names of Douglas Shane Erickson, Ryan Hawkins, Dr. Cynthia Orr, and Craig Woods to our next level of consideration.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Bob? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Jefferson?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Next on our agenda, we have a discussion about the reference check protocol.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right. So the next thing in the process, thank you, Madam Chair. The next thing on the process is reference check protocol. So I will be contacting all of the candidates to let them know whether they were selected to move forward to the next step or not. And for the ones that you've selected, we will be doing reference check questions, calls for the people that they've listed as references, they've written letters of recommendation, as well as some other people that maybe we know to contact, so we get the greatest amount of information on each of these candidates. So the document before you is guidelines to help you as you make these calls. I will be making the assignments so that each of you know who to call for each applicant. My office also makes a few calls so that we try to get as much information as possible. So as you can see here, the document just identifies, introduce yourself, why you're calling. Most likely the candidate has let the person know that they have been, they have applied for the position. Ask the questions, make sure you ask the same type of question in the same way to each call. The main point for this is so that you don't give any candidate an advantage or disadvantage with these calls and the questions that you ask. If a phone number that I provide to you doesn't work, or if you have any issues contacting someone, let me know, and myself or someone in my office will make those calls for you. So here, this document, you can make copies of it, or I can send it to you as a Word document if you prefer to type into the document as you talk to people on the phone. But there's a list of questions here, and you can take a look at that. If there's any that you would not like to have asked, or that you feel like we need to change the wording or change something to be asked, then just let me know, and I will update this document before we all make the calls. So when I send you your assignments of who to call, I will send you this document as well. So in the meantime, if you just have any questions or changes to this, just contact me and I can help you answer those questions, or change the document so that it meets your needs. And when we're all done with it, I will run everything by Chairwoman Harris so that we make sure that she's in agreement with everything that we do. Any questions on that?
Madam Chairman, I'll just ask, see what kind of timeline we got for asking these questions again?
Madam Chair, we are scheduled to come back, I believe, on July 10th.
Okay.
So I will work on this tomorrow and get the emails out to you tomorrow so that you can start making the phone calls at your earliest. I realize it's a holiday weekend, so I apologize for that.
Yeah.
If you
Not your
are, if you're super busy, or you just do not have the time or don't have the ability to make the calls, if you'd like me to do that or someone on my staff to do that, we are happy to do that. We help boards with this all the time. So we can make the calls for you if you need us to. Just let me know and we will handle that for you. We will type all of the answers and then provide that to you at the board meeting when we meet next week.
Okay, and I believe that after this part will be in an executive session before our regular board meeting next on the 10th.
10th.
Yes, Madam Chair, that is correct. So anytime we're talking about individual candidates, which would be their references, the things we hear about those will be an executive session. When you get done with that executive session, we'll come out into open session, and you'll have the ability to make some decisions of the candidates to move forward. You may choose to move all 4 on for interviews. You may decide that you've heard some things in the reference calls that maybe you don't want to move all forward. So when you come out in open session, we'll have that discussion at the next meeting, and you can make another motion if you'd like to change who to move forward to the next round.
Anybody have any questions on that?
Madam Chairman, I just have clarification. We have a regular, or this is a school board meeting on the 10th.
Yes,
Is that our regular board meeting date also?
yes.
So this won't be in the regular board meeting, or will be?
This will be an executive session before the board meeting.
It's scheduled for 6.
So our executive session next week will be at 6, and then the regular board meeting will start at 7.
Madam Chair, going through these, will that hour be an adequate time?
Madam Chair, I believe so. What I find is, as we do the calls, a lot of times we hear the same types of information. So with some of the other boards that I've worked with, they just, after a couple of you will say, I heard these particular traits or these great things, and we all kind of say, yeah, my call said the exact same things as those other calls said. So sometimes that helps as well. But with 4 semifinalists, I think it's very doable to get through the process in an hour.
Thank you. Any other questions for Misty? Okay, anything else, Misty?
The
On the
only
reference check?
I'll look at the agenda real fast to make sure. So then the other thing is just the interview process. And so we don't need to, we can't make any decisions today because this is not an action item, but just to be thinking about the interview day. So once we come back next week, you guys will decide your finalists. That will be who you move forward for interviews. And so when we do the interview process, there's a couple of things you can do. We'll do interviews of each of the finalists. Some boards like to hold a community and staff meet and greet or forum. It is usually 2 hours or so, and it gives your community and staff and students an opportunity to meet the finalists, visit with them. We provide comment cards, and so the attendees can provide you with comments, and they'll say what they heard from the candidates. And in my experience, is very, very valuable information to the boards. What you hear in an interview can sometimes be very different what your staff and your patrons hear one-on-one or in a small group setting with your finalists. And so that information can really help you to make a decision when you finally have to make that decision of who the superintendent should be. Hearing what those people have to say, good or bad, will help to guide that decision. And I've heard many, many districts say, many boards say that was literally what it came down to, was to hear what their patrons had to say. So that is an option that you can do. What some districts have done, not as many, but a few have done, is also do site tours for the finalists. So the finalists come in and someone in your district, it's usually not a board member because we don't want to have finalists alone with board members to possibly sway, but it's usually someone in your district or maybe a community member will take the finalists around and show them the schools, perhaps show them the community, anything that you think might be of interest to them so that they can get to know your community better and know the schools and where they're located and how in town or how far out they might be. So that helps the finalists to just kind of get to know the area better. So those are all things that we can offer. Anything else that you might have in mind or that your staff or patrons have said that they think would be really good in the process, we can definitely consider that. So we can discuss that and you can make some decisions at your next board meeting on those topics.
Madam Chair, just one question as far as dates on that possible meet and greet. Is that something it's so hard to get our calendars together, something we should discuss, or is that for the next board meeting?
I thought the meet and greet was on the 18th.
I thought you already
It's already
set the time.
scheduled.
Yeah, Madam Chair. So we have right now we have it scheduled for July 18th. That all of that would be held in the same day. So normally interviews take 1 hour, and every single interview is allotted the same exact 1 hour amount of time. And then usually the board takes 15 to 30 minutes after each interview to talk about what they heard in the interview, the great things they heard, or maybe some things that were of concern, and then you go into the next interview. So it's just kind of back-to-back interviews. So within that, we can decide where you want the interviews, where you want the community meet and greet if you choose to have that, and if you want site tours, where that would be. So it's all up to how you want that day to look. The board members would be involved, obviously, in the interviews, and those are all done in executive session. The community meet and greet we would do as a notice of quorum. So I would work with your clerk to make sure we get that noticed up. What that means is you would probably have a quorum of the board all in one location, but you're doing no business of the district. So you will not be making any decisions. You will not be gathering as a group like this. You'll just be in different areas of the room wherever we hold this meet and greet. And so that would be that day. And then you would come back, you would go into executive session at the end of it all and debate and discuss the various candidates and what you heard and what your community and staff said in their comment cards, and then come back into open session and make a decision if you're ready to make a decision at that point.
So Madam Chair, on that day, will it be posted that we'll all be together?
Yes. I've been emailing Misty and she's been guiding us, Jefferson and I, and working with Heather as well, to make sure everything's posted.
And Madam Chairman, I have an issue on that date that I'm camping in McCall. I was gonna come down that morning thinking we were just going to do a meet and greet. So if we're going to be interviewing, it's gonna be a problem to get here unless we start at 1 o'clock or something. I don't know what your feeling is about that.
Are you talking about the 18th?
Yes.
So maybe we could start in the afternoon interviewing and then in the evening do a meet and greet. I mean, Board, what do you think?
You almost have to have it in the evening, allow the patrons to access it after work.
Yeah, in my mind, it was to have interviews during the day. And then in the evening, when everyone's off work, do the meet and greet. And then we have our executive session back here. And then we come back in open session if we make after the discussion.
Question. Say we get down to where we've got two candidates that we are really passionate about, and we want to re-interview them. Is that an option we have?
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
you can interview and you can go through this process as much as you want. So if you get to that point, you can definitely do that. Yeah, we just want to let the candidates know. If you have an out-of-state candidate that is one of those, we may want to possibly plan that date ahead so that if they've made either flight arrangements or travel arrangements, that they're prepared either to stay for a second interview or come back at a later date.
Can we do it over the phone?
Madam Chair?
Mhm.
Yes, you definitely can. I've done interviews, I've done preliminary interviews via Skype so that you can see each other, they can see the whole board. I've done it in a variety of ways, conference call, but usually Skype or that kind of video conferencing is really good just so you can see each other.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
John, if we Skyped, can all of our computers receive that Skype?
Yes.
Yeah.
You'd have to all log into the system.
Yeah. I don't know if you, I haven't used Skype, so I don't know if you could have more than one person at a time or.
See, Bob, when he interviewed for be a board member.
Zoom.
Oh, was it Zoom?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think it was.
No, Zoom, you can do it.
But the problem with it is that they cannot see the board. That's just the group photo.
Well, I've been able to Zoom two-way.
But one-on-one,
Oh, yeah, right.
if each one of us, you're saying each computer we could see them on our Skype screen, but they wouldn't see each one of us.
Okay.
When
Madam
I
Chair.
interviewed, it was just, I had no visual at all. I think I did. I had a picture of the board kind of from a distance.
Madam Chair, I have just recently, in the last couple of months, done Skype where it was three of us were on the call. So I was in one location, the board was in a different part of the state, and then the candidate was on the other screen. So I've done that at least with three people on Skype all at once, and it worked out really, really well. I was the one that was making those calls just to ensure that I did test calls ahead of time, which I can definitely work with your IT department to ensure that it ran smoothly too.
Bob, a question, getting back to, you'll be in McCall, getting back to Emmett by 1 would,
I think I can do that. Unless the traffic is really bad. But that's a Thursday, as I recall. It shouldn't be bad, except the construction on the roadway. So who knows?
Yeah. Are you sleeping in until 11 or what?
No.
no, he's up.
I'm an early riser, but it's the other half of my crew that can't travel with her in a trailer like you can, Lucille Ball.
Right.
Well, the reason I ask is I would like everybody here, so.
Yeah.
We're all making the decisions.
I'd say if you plan it by 1 o'clock, I'll be here.
Okay,
Guarantee it.
okay, thank you. Okay, does anybody have any other questions for Misty or Quinn?
Madam Chair, Misty, you say you can make the calls on these questions?
Madam Chair, was the question to make all the phone calls for you?
You can make these calls on these questions?
Absolutely, yes. When you receive the email from me, then just let me know that that's what you'd like us to do.
All right, so next week at our regular board meeting, we'll have an executive session beforehand to go over the reference checks. And then we'll go from there. So I think that our date should be locked in on timeline. I think we're on schedule, on track. Does anybody have anything else? Any other questions?
They're saying at 1 o'clock is when it's gonna start.
Something were to come up with that schedule, I'll be adamant of getting everything out so that the date and the time and the rooms and all that. Okay, we need to make a motion to adjourn?
Got a question.
Yes.
Agenda for next meeting. Do you need input?
No, Heather, it's already out.
Okay,
The July agenda is pretty low-key, basic stuff.
don't need to bring our overnight clothes.
No? No?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you, gals. We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Hey Terry, were you wanting something in particular? It might already be on there.